Kruger, Big Blue Sun Museum of Solar Cooking based in Minneapolis. And I'm here with Pat Browne in beautiful Southern California. I do not see a cloud in the sky. There was a little fog this morning on the drive in, but it looks like it's going to be a good day to be cooking. Pat has graciously allowed me to come here to tell her story. And so I just have the three questions, and we'll specifically get to this cooker and whatever else you want to show. The first one is, how did you get into solar energy, actually, in any way, shape, or form, and then specifically solar cooking?
Well, I was raised in Hawaii, and this is what's left of my 18-year-old Hawaiian tan. It was really stupid. You know, you don't have a redhead baking in Hawaii and expect results. Definition of insanity. But solar cooking, my dad did it with solar water back in the early 70s. It just makes sense. My dad was a CB, DIY kind of dude. So, you know, we just make do and come from farmer stock, and you figure out how to get things done, and you use leftover parts. I am so fortunate to be living with, I have two young people that are in their 20s living with me on the property. This giant thing behind them is their own DIY, and they are my apprentices. They built this solar oven using a $65 kit from GoSun. So this is probably their leftover Guatemala experiment that they did.
Sure.
They took down probably a couple hundred of these down south, taught the people how to build their, you know, the concepts and everything else, and then, you know, they still had some tubes left over.
Yeah.
So they're a great kit. I mean, it was a $65 Christmas present.
Okay.
We found an old snare drum metal band that he cut in half, and then the back side of it's got leftover construction plywood and pieces for siding. And then we also put it on top of an old satellite. So it rotates, it does its thing. We're not going to let it heat up at the moment.
Sure.
He even made the lid out of an old wine cork.
Oh, nice.
Gizmo, you know, pieces and parts together. You know, most people get the concept.
Yes.
I got the bug to go hardcore in 2008 when I was introduced to a commercial solar oven, and the artist had two ovens, and she said, "Oh, we do all our cooking this way."
Wow.
And I'm going, you know, smack the forehead, epiphany, and you know, it started the bug, and once you get the bug, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But so this is this oven, and most people will know what this is all about. They cook up their breakfast in the morning. I'm going to put it down as we walk away so that we don't get it too warm.
Sure.
It's on loan for me to get that. I have the commercial one in the back.
Okay.
And then, okay, so how I got started, how I got the bug, where I'm at from here. At this point, since 2008, I've been doing free solar cooking demonstrations for county events, emergency expos, the local university. I'm a little bit of an oddity in the county for solar oven. Most people know me for that, as well as other things. And then, the trend has been, oh, that's a great camping tool. Oh, I don't have to carry fuel. Oh, that's a great emergency tool. And I'm saying, no, we really need to do this all the time. We need to have it as a fixture of our daily activity. This is their office. They come out to get their coffee, their water heated up in the morning. They have a nice cup of joe, and they move on from there. And so it's you know, it's just a part of the lifestyle.
Yes.
You know, when you got the bug, you got the bug.
Yeah.
I have 7 ovens, and we'll introduce you to some of them, a couple of them duplicates, but under instruction, Julie and Taylor built a giant dehydrator for me, and I call it a dehydrator because it only gets up to about 180, maybe 200 on a very clear day, not hot day, just a clear day. In the winter, it can get up to that, even you know, if it's very, very clear and still like today. And I use it for part of the restaurant programs, bucket programs I do. But I have been processing over 50,000 pounds of green waste from the prep kitchens of 5 restaurants over the last 12 years.
Sure.
And in processing, I generally get about 100 to 300 pounds a week. Some of it needs to be sanitized. So the dehydrator, since it gets over the 150 temperature of pasteurization, basically sanitizes the eggshells that I get so that I can then dry them up, crunch them up, and then give them to the poultry.
Sure.
It also sanitizes the throwaway bread, so I don't have to worry about anything that direction. And then that crunches it up, and it turns it, what we turn it into something we call livestock biscotti.
Okay.
And so it, you just recycle. But latched on to the restaurant program, bucket program, about the same time, it was like the eco button, permaculture button turned on, and you just act locally and think globally. And so I'm trying to do my part at recycling everything. I latched on to Surfrider to do the ocean-friendly garden. I'll put the plug in for that.
Sure.
Where we retain all water on site. So now at this point, that's 110,000 gallons of water each year that is not going to the ocean.
Yeah.
It's going into my mulch basins.
Sure.
So, but solar energy drives all of that.
Yes.
And the fact that we can now get it better. And I've been doing the history too. Have you noticed, did you know that solar energy, they didn't think of it for cooking, but for heating up. I mean, it's as known as old as the Romans and the Greeks. So this exact kind of thinking was still there. They figured it out.
Yeah.
Where do we go? It's just part of my life now.
Sure. And what would you recommend others do to promote it? Do some of the same things, or any other ideas you have?
Well, start with the first oven. Go ahead and go to solarcookers.org and go to their wiki. And they have plans for a solar oven you can make for less than $20 with cardboard and polycarbonate from a turkey pasting bag. And I usually show demonstrations of an emergency setup at the demos. But they have plans for everything. Back in 2010, I had contacted their team and said, you guys really need to become the ANSI, the ANSI, or the American National Standards Institute. You really need to do that just for solar ovens.
Yes.
If you do that for solar ovens, you're ahead of Underwriter Laboratories. We can quote you as, developing it all, and we can get these permits taken care of.
Sure.
And I think somebody listened to me.
Well, it's Alan Bigelow in New York. I interviewed him for my channel for the
yes.
pet test. Yeah, in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, he was showing the whole process, the machine. Now, it's just for watts. He emphasizes it's just the wattage, so you know the power. And he said, other people are welcome to, or even they might do it someday, but come up with kind of like a consumer reports thing where you have the grid, like a car, horsepower, mileage,
Well, they had to do it themselves,
yeah,
didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is such a niche, easy idea that people they discard it because they don't think it's technical enough.
Right.
I'm really hoping that the tube construction and everything else will,
Sure.
pick up, because now that we can grill with this temperature, then people, I can grill? Okay, now all right, fine, I'll get rid of my gas. I tell people to get rid of the gas inside the house because you're polluting your air, but I'm a nurse and they'll listen to me to some degree, but oh my heavens, yeah, you're right, monoxide's not a good thing. Well, and people are going to start looking at throwaway items for exactly that. For example, they ship some commodities in these foil lined boxes.
Yes.
I have a couple in the back we can show as an example. And these are used to mail goods like dried greens and things, or dried hops.
Yep.
From New Zealand, no less. So,
Oh, wow.
And if you know any brewers that
Sure.
that do hops in bulk, then we can get them. You can, and it's already even set up for you.
Yeah.
As a foldable.
It's a struggle a lot of people have because, for instance, for myself, just the sidebar is, I am about as anti-plastic as you can get. A lot of the best designed panel cookers are made with these windshield reflector things, which are almost entirely plastic. And I have a project ready so that by the fall, I will have replicated those designs, but only with aluminum flashing or with printing plates. which are eminently, if you got a printer in town where they're running off, thousands of copies of 3-color stuff, they're recycling them every 2 or 3 printings. They wear out, and the one side is already weatherproof because it's got the ink on it. And the other side it's a buff. It's not as shiny as that, but I'm convinced that it'll have enough power, especially with a couple of the panel cookers, where all the light eventually hits the pot. It's not like a small focal point, but so long as it still all hits the pot, it doesn't have to be what they call spectral grade. And then you can switch.
And so you almost don't want to throw things away, and so we can get accused of being hoarders, but you start sorting the scrap.
Yes.
And you start making things, and then after a while, when you start making things, well, I'll make a solar oven today. Okay, well, what materials do I have? Okay, you just start shopping in your backyard, and you go for it, and materials actually start coalescing, coming together for you beforehand, because subconsciously you're sorting. Oh, this will go with this. This will go with that, and
Big book,
what do you do?
A book you want to add to your library. The big book of maker ideas. Chris Hackett, New York City, had a maker space called the Madagascar Institute, and he says, don't buy stuff to make stuff.
Yeah.
He says the most common material on the planet, it's called obtainium. You obtain it in the alley. People throw them out.
Well, and we're going to start making our houses out of the local materials with adobe and cob, because guess what? It's worked.
Yes.
And the risk from earthquakes is much, much lower than the risk from fires. So, I mean, by a factor of, several hundred to 1,000 as far as risk. I mean, it all comes down to solar, all of how we use the energy. We're going to have a solar oven building workshop. Pretty much it's more of an assembly thing. I've gotten a lot of scrap wood, a lot of scrap glass, and we're collecting those material foil line boxes for liners. And then once I cut a standard kit setup for each one of them over this summer, we'll have a date where people will bring their screwdrivers and everybody will put things together.
Nice.
And then they'll come home with not a portable oven. It'll be too heavy for that. But if they can solar dehydrate things, they can just, it's plate glass. It's not the best glass, like the sun oven glasses that they have, but it still comes up with a solid piece. And if they use it every day because they have chickens and they want to sanitize something, and it's a tool. And if they don't need it, I mean, and then when everybody else is running around with their heads cut off because they've run out of charcoal and everything else, and they need to pasteurize their water, then we're able to help the community. All right, let's cook in the back solar oven. Come on.
Sure.
Got some mirrors, we can crank it up. Just good sense, use the modern tech, go simple. Put the robustness into the system, duplicate everything you can. But as far as the solar thing, we've already got the photovoltaic. We're already doing. I want to get an e-bike. That's on the list if I can eventually afford that. And just downsize. We're downsizing to simpler, but yet not simple.
Right.
So it still has requirements. And we go dry during the summer. So
you follow the cycles.
Yeah, we follow the cycle. We're very seasonal. I don't know if I can show you any more stuff here.
Yeah, this is great.
Okay. Do you want to go in and?
Yeah. Turn this off.
All right. Let me put this in a safe spot. It's right here. Yeah, it's a powerhouse. It once it cranks up by about this time of the day, it stays warm well into the afternoon, into the early evening. I mean, it'll be probably 100 degrees in there after the sun goes down about 8 o'clock.
Sure. And describe again what you're doing with this.
So this is the monster dehydrator. It has probably about 40 gallons of bread crusts and a solid month's worth of eggshells from the restaurant bucket program. And what it does is, I just throw it in and forget about it. For the and I also bleach out bones in there too, so I've got the bones hidden
Sure.
for a little bit of sensibility there. And then that's livestock biscotti for you. You just once you've got it dehydrated up, you can store it in bags and containers and keep it from being infested by any kind of rats that now want it. And then you can feed it off to your animals as yet another carbohydrate source.
Sure.
The eggshells are a calcium source, and I don't go through them fast enough, so I'm usually putting out ads. Anybody want free pasteurized stuff, and go from there. Taylor and Julie built it. I don't know if, okay, there we
Oh,
go.
I didn't. So it's going up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I had them build it big, and they had some leftover liner from their office bus conversion.
Oh, nice.
So they donated that, and we gathered the bricks in the in the garden and lined it with that, and everything goes in. And it's insulated on the other side of the bricks too, so it really does hold the heat. Does a great job. Gets up to about 180 to 200 degrees, which is more than enough, and probably enough to, if I added another 2 or 3 mirrors, I could probably get it up to 250
Oh, yeah.
every time.
Easily.
And it's plate glass, so it's solid glass. It takes, and it's, although I don't believe it's tempered. People understand, and I got to clean it off. It's there, but I collect other glass things to do the same sort of thing in a pinch.
Yes.
So in a pinch, you can, if you know the principles of all the shuns, reflection, induction, conduction. How many other shuns are there? Radiations.
Yep.
All the different shuns. If you understand those ideas and principles behind them, you can pop together almost anything, even a polycarbonate turkey basting bag wrapped around a black pot, raised up and elevated, and put in front of a tin foil screen, and you're cooking. And so we try to cook as much as we can, especially in the summer, not so much in the winter because we keep the heat inside the house, but during the summer we're trying to keep the heat outside the house.
Sure.
And so we really are trying to save on our air conditioning bill. And it's just a matter of, putting it in one step at a time, doing it. And calculations, my roughest calculations is that you can save on energy alone, you can save $160 to $400 a year on paying for fuel of some sort. So if you're buying gas, especially if you're buying gas, you can save a ton of money. Even buying electricity, you can save that 160 or so. And if you're doing all of this, you're also saving so much on not air conditioning your house, not polluting your house, not poisoning yourself with gases and combustion products. It's really, really a good idea. And yet, if people just look at it with such disdain, and I just can't seem to get past which population of demographics of people that might actually be interested in doing something like this. And I suppose it's going to be folks like myself. I was telling you earlier about the lifestyles of the poor and resilient. That we're really trying to pinch and save money. All of this was found materials, leftover materials from other constructions. You start asking for bits and bits, and you stash them away. The bricks don't match. Everything works, but there you are.
Yeah, no, this is a key feature of what I wanted to see, and you described it.
Hope it didn't disappoint you.
No, and the thing I just wanted to say, kind of to be able to state in so many words, is we think of pasteurized milk and pasteurizing water, but how many people think of pasteurizing foodstuffs? And but it's the same deal.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to build one, to tell you the truth, just how crazy it is. I wanted to take a sheet of plate glass from a sliding door, build the box underneath it, test it out for the temperatures and everything else. And if I ever got, because I have a lot of guests that come and stay with us, if we ever, God forbid, got bed bugs,
Yeah.
we just pop the mattress, pop all the cushions in there, and bake them, 1 or 2 days. We're done.
Yep.
And you clean out everything else, and you do it again in 2 more weeks when they lay their eggs, and do it again. And
Sure.
yeah, we actually don't even treat the house with chemicals. We actually treat the house with heat.
Yeah.
But you can't get solar mirrors in there.
No.
It just doesn't work large. And
Yep.
I can't do that scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's but the ideas are always popping.
Sure.
But yeah, anything else? Did you want me to pull out any bread to show you just how brittle it is?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Um,
I think I'm always thinking of like branding, and you could call it Cowscotty
Cow Scotty?
or Biscotti.
Yeah.
Biscotti.
See, this was just put in there yesterday.
Oh yeah, and it's already
It's toast.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't have the brand rights, bragging rights to that name. A friend of mine does, and she's, livestock biscotti, and I'm going, there you are. So, yeah, and that's how I put it up on the post when I give it away. Anybody want more livestock biscotti? Oh, what's that? What's that? Well, it's pasteurized carbohydrates. Oh, if it's free, I'll take it.
There we
Come
go.
on by. Yes, get it off my hands. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the rest of the yard is just the same sort of thinking of permaculture. Keep the ground covered, because I can tell you, if the ground's not covered, it's killing the microbes, and I can hear their screams in my dreams. So I don't want and this is really sort of an interesting take for an RN to think about. We're all about trying to prevent microbes and, be sterile, and I'm going, no, I'm done with that now.
Yeah.
I want to bring all the good guy microbes in. My favorite, I even have a favorite. Did I tell you?
No.
I have a favorite microbe. The name is Nitrosomonas eutropha. This little microbe is the mother of the Nitrobacter family. And what it does is it takes the ammonia bonds and converts those ammonias into 2 things. Nitric oxide, which is a very potent greenhouse gas, but if it's in the ground, it gets absorbed right away and converted because all the other buddies are there. But if this microbe lives on you, that nitric oxide gets absorbed by your skin, and because it's such a potent dilator opening up, it drops your blood pressure, it opens up your airways, it makes you breathe easier, makes your blood flow better, perfusion to the rest of the skin and everything else. So it's really a good thing that it lives on your skin. And the other thing that it does, it also makes nitrite as a salt. Nitrite is, most people know, you don't want to take them, but as a salt on your skin, it prevents the growth of strep and staph.
Okay.
So this little bug can't go pathogenic. It can't go into our bodies because it needs both ammonia and oxygen. And if it doesn't get both of them, it just dies. But if it gets both of them, it makes these beautiful chemicals that our body actually uses. And we don't smell. So it's not that I don't smell. It's like you don't produce an odor anymore, because odor is made out of ammonia bonds in different esters and aldehydes and so forth. But that ammonia bond, that NH4 bond in there is gone, and so now you don't smell. So conceivably, you could spray it on yourself, and you do not need to wash yourself. So now you're saving all this water. We have to stop wrecking the system. We just need to find out what the system is.
Yep.
And once we know the system, encourage it. So you'll never see any bare dirt here. Even, we've got some coverage, because you've already done all the math, but the energy that's cooking the sun can, even though it's only about, 75 degrees right now?
Yeah.
The sun, if it were on bare stone, I can guarantee you that the temperature would be closer to 100 to 120.
Yeah.
and we can't expect microbes to live under that. So we need to understand the names, name them, and once we name them, they're good guys. We understand what they're going to do. And we'll keep the bad ones in control. And we don't have to kill everything with bleach. We can kill it with salt water or vinegar or acid and everything else. And I'm not saying not to go with big guns for the big bugs, because I'm not that either. When they are needed, we need to have those big guns, those big tools. I shouldn't call them guns. I don't want to go with there either.
Tools, yeah, and
But a big tool. We need a big tool.
Sparingly. Use them just
very
targeted.
targetedly. Integrated management is really. There's even something called integrated cooking.
Yes.
Do you know about that too? So integrated cooking. I haven't yet done the big donut yet.
Okay.
Heat retention.
Sure.
I'd like to do that. I mean, I've got goals to do things where I'm going from here. And so once I get that built, those hot boxes built, then I'll have the full integrated model. But most of this is all online. Go to solarcooking.com or .org.
Yeah, solarcooking.org is the wiki.
And then go to their wiki. At the bottom of that page, there's the link to their wiki. And it's a lot of fun. And it's not that much more time, actually.
I recall one video where there's it's kind of like an ottoman, a square ottoman that was ruined, the top was ruined or something. And she thought, well, that's where I store my blankets. Wait a second, I want to do a retain heat. Take those blankets, line them, just staple them. You can do fancy upholstery if you want, and then put that lid back on with blankets underneath to staple to it. And you got your retain heat, you got your hay box.
Yeah, you got your hot box.
Yeah, it's already there.
It's amazing. I mean, how many other things can I interest you?
This certainly fits the bill, because I focus on solar cooking, but I want to make sure I bring in all the other stuff, so people aren't just saying, well, it's just a survival thing, or it's just a thing to do. No, it's something that can be part of your life.
And we need to go back to good sense.
Yes.
Really think things through. Remember our bits of science and things that we learned in school, and understand things are not magic. We can work with it. But nature has figured it out first. There's hope for us.
Yes. Well, on that note, thank you so much. I know you have a really busy day ahead of you, and this is fantastic. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to chatter and being a wonderful captive audience.